Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. This is the first lecture for this online system, and then you can say that we can be continue at least till 15th of July. Unfortunately, this is one of my expertise. You can say that this is one of the expertise course of mine, but unfortunately due to this pandemic and due to this current situation of Pakistan and rest of the world, we are ultimately start working on this online system. Previously we were discussed that we cannot start our MS program through the this online process, but the thing is that we are delaying, and our semester will be delayed if we still more wait for or we can say at 15th of July, and no one knows that how much this pandemic and how much this government will extend the holidays in the university. So ultimately we decided to start this to end up our semester on time and to save the time of the students as well as. So when we were in the class, so I discussed this one of my lecture. I discussed the introductory lecture of the organizational development. Organizational development is very important subject, and organizational development is basically linked with the, you can say that linked with the thing is that they are very much important in the field of the organization, in the field of the, you can say that you can say that the organizational structure. Organization is based on to build the capacity. This subject is basically linked with first we discuss about the some of the brief aspects related with the organizational development, and that is the process. Organizational development is basically a process that applies behavioral science knowledge and practices to help organizations build the capacity to change and to achieve greater effectiveness. Then including increased financial performance, and then we are talking about an improved quality of work in the life. Then we talk about organizational development differs from the other planned change efforts, such as the technological innovations, new product development. So these are the some of the others technological, you can say that the others planned change. Then you are the other new product development, because the focus is on building the organization's ability to access its current functioning and to achieve you can say that its goal, obviously. Then what the more thing is related with the organizational development is the oriented to the improvement to the total system of the organization, then the organization and its parts, and in the context of the larger environment that affects them. So before going to the slides and before going to discuss this course, let me clear you very important thing about organization is that organization is based on three important things. Number one is people, then the second thing is process, and then the third thing is system. That individuals who are working in the organization is relate with the people, that all those individuals who are working in the organization, they related in the area of the people. As you see on the screen, that here you see it on the screen, that organizational and organization is a tool used by people to coordinate their actions to obtain something they desire or value, that is to achieve their goals as well as. So these the people are very important, as you seeing it on this first slide, that people who value security create an organization called a police force, an army, or a bank. People who value entertainment create organizations such as Walt Disney Company or local club. People who desire spiritual or emotional support creates churches. social service, organization, or charity. So these are the things that this defined the organization. But before moving to the organization, you talk about, or I discuss with you, that people, structure, and the system. Then the first thing is the individuals are the people. Then the second thing is relate with the structure. By structure, we mean that organizational, uh, you can say that organizational uh, hierarchy, you can say that organizational hierarchy, either that hierarchy will be based on vertical system, or either that based on the horizontal system. So when we're talking about horizontal, we are talking about that the kind of the structure, the kind of the mechanism where they know there is not such any kind of the middle management. They has more relied on the top management and the operational management. When you're talking about the vertical management, so vertical management or a vertical hierarchy is based on a kind of a system where you can uh, has the top management, middle management, and operational management. When you're talking about structure, so we have two different approaches as far as related with the structure of the organization. One is the mechanistic structure, and the other is the organic structure. So these two are very important related with the what the meanings of the mechanistic structure is. That mechanistic structure we means that a kind of organization which is very much rigid in their operations. Rigid, by rigid we mean that highly centralized organization. Then we're talking about organic organization. So the organic organization is a kind of organization which is a decentralized organization. So this is sometimes related with the structure. Then we're talking about systems. So system is based on value, system is based on norms, system is based on some SOPs, and system is based on some standards which basically develop an organization. So this is complete, this makes the whole thing when you talking about organizational development, or when you discussing the organizational development. Then the act or process of organizing, in the previous classes, in the previous degree programs, you are already go through it, and you can also search through a lot of your websites, a lot of the Google, you can find out the definition of the organization. So some of the also narrate here, and some of the also quote here in my this lecture. The act or process of organizing, the state or manner of being organized, something that has been organized or made into an ordered whole, a group of persons organized for a particular person, for a particular purpose, an association, a benevolent organization. So blah, blah, blah. These are some of the things that we can relate it with the, uh, uh, with the organization. Then moving further, that we can think about it, there are some of the books as well as related with the organizational development. As I shared with you people the course outlines, and as well as that course outline and PPTs are also available on the LMS, or will be available on the LMS as well as. So you will see the detailed course outline, and you will see the whole scheme of this course. Obviously, we will follow two important books. One book is relate with the organizational development, and the thing is that this book is related with the author of Thomas Cummings. And the when this book is very important, you can find out any latest edition, as well as I will also share you in the meantime the soft form of this book as well as to, so you can also go through with this book. This is a very important book. The next important book is very important, is related with the sorry, I can mention the title as well as Organizational Development and Change, any latest edition, Cummings and Worley. So this book, the PDF form of this book can also be shared with you as well as. Another book is An Experiential Approach to Organizational Development, 7th edition, Donald R. Brown. Donald Harvey. This book is also very important, and book covered a lot of things related with the organizational development. So this is also these are the two courses, these are the two suggested books. One is the reference book and one is the textbook. So we will go through with this. I will provide you the PPTs, I will provide you the PDF, I will provide you a lot of things related with this course. We will go through with some assignments, we will go through with some minor assignments, we will go through with some group assignments, and we will go through with the whole other things as well. As I can share you on my LMS, so you can discuss with me at any time through the WhatsApp or through LMS. You can ask anything related with the course through the LMS as well. So the challenge is coming back to the lecture. The challenge for the organization is change is coming down upon us like in a mass, and most people are utterly unprepared to cope with it. What does it mean? It means that organization is moving towards changing. Organization is moving towards, so you can say that, an unprepared change. That, and in the sometimes most of the organization is not prepared. If we see the example of Nokia, and if you see the structure and if you see the graph of the Nokia in the Nokia 2004 or 2005, they were the market leader. In the 2006, 2007, they were the market leader. But after a certain period of time, the other companies is inventing their structure, inventing their mechanism, inventing or improving their technology. But the Nokia is so much rigid that they cannot focus, they can't focus on their technology. So they were unprepared. So ultimately, unfortunately, they collapse in the industry of the telecom, in the industry of the cell phones. So obviously, we can say that a cell phone company or a cell phone industry. So collapse in the cell phone industry, and this makes them a very big disaster as well. As, and they ultimately not prepared. That's why they failed to this change. And nowadays there's so many other cell phone companies like Apple, like Samsung, and some other companies as well, as the top leaders are brand leaders of this industry, and Nokia is nowhere. So the thing is that organization has to prepare for the change. Organization has to be more proactive rather to a reactive. uh, Later on we will discuss it about the reactive and proactive as well, as what does it mean and how organization has to work with this. Then the everyday managers confront massive and accelerating change. Global competition and economic downturns have exposed a glaring weakness in the organization or in organizations. Like you see that in the current time pandemic, there is a lot of organization who's facing economic issues as well as, and they will ultimately in the structure of the downsizing, and they're facing as well as related with so many others operations. The fact that many of them have become overstaffed, cumbersome, slow, and inefficient. The mean is that organization in some of the thing is, some of the organizations are overstaffed, some of the organizations are slow, some of the organization is undecisive, cumbersome is the undecisive, and inefficient in so many operations, in so many activities as well. As then successful 21st century manager must deal with a chaotic world of new competitors and constant innovation. In future, the only winning companies will be the one that respond quickly to change. Then the other thing is, the modern managers must not only be flexible and adaptive in a changing environment, they must be able to diagnose problems and implement change programs. So these are also the challenging activities. These are also some of the aspects that can be relate with the uh, organizational development. What does the meaning of the 21st century managers, or what does the mean that the first 21st century managers work with it? So the thing is that every organization is constantly moving on innovation, constantly talking about a technological innovation, constantly for a successful organization, they have to work for more improving organizational effectiveness. They can provide others, you can say that process, they can provide other technological improvements as well. As if you see the example of Facebook, so Facebook in this 21st century is continuously improving their existing system. The only thing is that they survive in this social media is that they are constantly improving their structure. They are constantly investing on their technology. So organization has to or must move on to a constant innovation for the survival. So this we can say that. And then as the bottom of this slide is you seeing that in this here, and you seeing that organization is modern managers must not only be flexible and adaptive in changing, but they must be able to diagnose problems and implement change programs. We will discuss in a detailed about diagnosed problems. What does the meaning of the diagnosed problems is a complete chapter on the diagnosis analysis, and how sorry, and how this related and how this works is, and how this completes the whole change process. So we will discuss it. Then organizations are never completely static. They are in continuous interaction with external forces. That we can say that organizations are never completely static, which means that in when we are discussing organizational development, as far as the literature of the organizational development are the theorists or the authors of the organizational development is mostly focused is that all those organizations who are static. So static means that static in operations. So all those organizations who are static in operation is not a successful organization. Means that organizational operations, if their organizational operation is not moving, or if their organizational operations is not, you can say that, is not adaptive towards the technology, towards the other system as well. As so that kind of organization is ultimately failed, ultimately faced a lot of problems, ultimately faced a lot of issues in the organization. I will discuss with you in the later slides or in the other area of the course as well. As then the conditions facing today's organization are different from those of the past decades. um, their quality of work life is different, their strategic change structure is different, their surveys, their action activities are different. So many things are nowadays is different from a previous frame, you can say. Changing consumer lifestyles and technological breakthroughs all act on the organization to cause it to change. Then you can say that the related with the consumer styles are what does the meaning of the consumer change style that nowadays in Pakistan, if you're seeing that, if you are observing the Peshawar, so in Peshawar that mostly people, their lifestyle, their preferences, their purchasing patterns, their purchasing behaviors, their interest towards products, their interest towards the different brands are totally changed. And so this is how you can say that consumer lifestyles and the consumer lifestyles changing and the technological breakthroughs also cause it to the change, and also has a very important role in the organizational structure as well. As so the next thing is moving on further is organizational development. When we're talking about organizational development is an effort planned, organization wide, managed from the top to increase organization effectiveness and health through a planned interventions in the organization's process using behavioral knowledge. So this is the organizational development main aspects that related with that. You can say that organization is a planned activity, organization wide, managed from the top to increase organization effectiveness, and the planned interventions moving furtherly in the organization. Organizational development is a response to change, uh, a complex educational strategy intended to change the beliefs, attitudes, values, and the structure of the organization so that they can better adopt to new technologies, markets, challenges, and the dazing rate of change itself. Organizational development, by organizational development, we mean that a response to change, an educational strategy intended to change the beliefs, values, and attitude. These are all the things that we can talking about in the organizational development. Organizational development can be defined as a planned and sustained effort to apply behavioral science for system improvement using reflexive, self-analytical methods. Organizational development is a process of planned change of an organization's culture from one which avoids an examination of social processes. So this is also some of the others definitions. You can say that I already discussed you that organizational development is a planned process. Organization has to work for this, and organization has to plan for it. In some of the cases, in some of the situation, organization is not planned, or they are not planned for the change. So all those organization who was not planned for change is basically the kind of the organization who are more reactive in nature. In other terms, we can say that furtherly explain it to this is that organization is basically interacting with two systems. One is the open system, another is the closed system. The open and the closed system, by open and closed system, we mean that open systems is basically all those organizations are following the open system. Is this means that they interact with the external environment. They interact with the external environment means that they can give importance to the external resources, they can give importance to the competitors role, they can give importance to the role of the consumers demand, they can reply to the consumers preferences, they can focus on the consumer preferences. So these are all things which is related with the interaction of the external environment, government policies, government regulations, so many things. Closed system, by closed system we mean that all those organizations who does not interact with the external environment. So when they does not interact with the external environment, so they are so much rely on their own system. When they rely on their own system, so they ultimately realize it, they ultimately focused on their existing system, and they cannot rely on the external environment. So they more focused on their structure, they more focused on their beliefs, they more focused on their own structure, they more focused on their own preferences. So these are the kind of the structure, these are the kind of the things which makes organization in trouble in a later period of time. Like I give you the example of Stanway organization. Stanway organization is very much rigid in their operations, very much rigid in their activities. So they do not interact with the external environment. Stanway organization was one of the, is one of the, in a previous times, not now, but in 1970s, Stanway organization was one of the pioneer of the piano manufacturing company. But nowadays, Stanway organization is not a top leading company. It still exists in the market, but it's not a kind of organization. It's not a kind of organization as far as the revenue is concerned, which were in the 1970s. Due to the reason of that, the organization is so much rigid in their system, so much rigid in their structure, and as well as follow the closed system. So these also affect the operations of the organization. So this is how you can say that a planned and as well as the unplanned activities, and how this cultural varies, and how this debate works on the organizational development. Obviously, when you're talking about organizational development, so cultures matters a lot. Obviously cultures matter a lot, so we will discuss about the culture, as well as there is also a chapter based on the culture as well. The characteristics of the organizational development is: number one is change, second is collaborative. By change we mean that OD is a planned strategy to bring about organizational change. The change effort aims at specific objectives and is based on a diagnosis of problem areas. Collaborative OD typically involves a collaborative approach to change that includes the involvement and participation of the organization members most effective, affected by the changes. So the change, these are some of the characteristics of the development as well as the change effort aims at specific objectives. There is obviously every change process, every organizational development process is based on some planned strategy. For example, why you're moving for the organizational development? For example, we mean that our market share is decreasing. So we need to worry about it. So for this, that how can we overcome this problem, overcome this process, overcome this problem? So we need to plan for that planned activity. So this is how the things work. Then the collaborative, by collaborative we mean that you need to engage someone else with you, to involve someone else to you in this change process. That can be your own employees, that can be the externals workers or the external bodies as well as to work with you to help in this change process or this in this development process. Then performance OD programs include an emphasis on ways to improve and enhance performance and quality. Humanistic is OD relies on a set of humanistic values about people and organization that aims at making organizations more effective by opening up new opportunities for the for increased use of human potential. So obviously when you are moving towards change process, when you are moving for the development process, so this means that you are ultimately focusing on the humanistic approach, or you are focusing on the humanistic action as well as. So humanistic, by humanistic, basically organizational development is a behavioral sciences. So behavioral sciences is incomplete without people or without humans. So you can say that human element, human potential is ultimately or definitely involved in this whole process. Then system, I explained in the previous slides. OD represents a system approach concerned with the interrelationships of divisions, departments, groups, individuals as interdependent subsystems of the total organization. So this all works, this all related with the interrelationships of the divisions, departments, groups, and individuals. Then scientific OD is based upon scientific approaches to increase organization effectiveness. So this is also related with that we are trying to focus on some based on some scientific approaches to overcome the problems to increase the organization effectiveness. So these are the things. Then the system is that departments, groups, individuals, interdependent subsystems, these are all things that which covered in the systems, that the people who work in people in actually definitely related with this total system. What does it mean? That this means that you can when you talking about organizational development, so that can be related with the departments, that can be related with the sub departments, that can be related with the groups, that can be related with the subsystems. So you can cover up the whole things, you can cover up whole interdivisions. For example, your organization is working on a kind of the system